corresponde. En el segundo proyecto vamos a ver de qué se trata. El segundo proyecto no va a ser un video. El segundo proyecto ustedes tienen que realizar. Ahorita se los comparto. Bueno, este es el segundo proyecto. Este lo diseñó el maestro Eric Chávez Escobar. Y tenemos que es un proyecto disciplinario y es del segundo parcial que tienen que hacer también una presentación, pero esta no la tienen que grabar, no tienen que realizar una grabación. Bueno, ¿qué es lo que debe de incluir? It says here, the second disciplinary project. Cover a student's name, group, class, name of the project. The project's name is the new normal at schools, okay? That is the name of the project. We have the slide 2, the benefits and disadvantages of online education. Next, the objective is compare and contrast using comparatives and superlatives. Example, studying online is better for my economy because I don't have to spend money on transportation nor on food at the cafeteria. Okay, so this is an example. So you have to compare and contrast the benefits and disadvantages, guys, of online education using comparative and superlatives. In the second slide, you have to talk about the future of education. This is the highlight of the second. We can say like the title, the future of education. So what you have to do here, what is the goal? Predict the possible likely future using will and going to. Example, when schools reopen, students will be divided into smaller groups. Large events are not going to be allowed. Okay, so maybe in this you are making some predictions about the future. Okay, to make predictions, you can use will for predictions based on your opinion. Remember that we use will. When you make a prediction based on your opinion, you can say, I think, I don't think, I guess, I suppose. Okay, you can say, I think schools will, or I don't think schools will, or I guess, I suppose, etc. Because remember that with will, we use those expressions because they are based on our opinion. And when we have evidence, we use going to, okay? We use going to make prediction based on a tangible or clear evidence, okay? So you can use, in this case, will and going to, but also here in the second slide, you can use future, but in the first conditional, remember that in first conditional, guys, we use future as well. So we can say if like if you wear a mask, or if everybody in the school wear a mask, everybody will be protected against COVID-19. For example, guys, okay? So you can talk about the possible logical results using first conditional in the second slide, okay? So will going to and first conditional can be used in the second. Now, sorry, in the third, this is the third. In the fourth slide, the heading for the fourth slide is our actions and the consequences. Well, describe the consequences if you don't comply with the new interaction recommendations. If people don't wear face masks, the number of contagions will increase. So here you have to focus on the consequences of our actions in the future, okay? So in this case, you have to use if more than ever, if, because when you use the first conditional with if people don't wear face masks, the number of contagions will increase. So in the slide 4, you have to use the first conditional, okay? The first conditional to talk about consequences. Some consequences. This is what you have to use in the slide 4, but also you can use other phrases. I'm going to show you other expressions that you can use for the fourth slide to talk about the consequences, okay? In a moment, I want to show it to you in a moment. In the slide 5, guys, what are you going to do in the slide 5? In the slide 5, you are going to talk about the suggested safe guide for return of class education. So you are going to give recommendations about how to safely return and interact at the school when they reopen. So, example, when schools reopen, we have to be careful by following a series of recommendations. For example, the entrance security should check everyone's temperature. Okay, so for this slide, guys, you have to use the modals. You have to use must, you have to use mustn't, you have to use can, can't, in negative or affirmative. You have to use may, might, could for possibility. You have to use should for giving advice. You have to use, what else? Ought to. You have to use have to or you don't have to, okay? For the recommendations about the safely returned and interactions in the school. And here we have the rubric. The rubric is 2% content, minimum 40 words per slide. 2% correct use of grammar, 2% variety of vocabulary, 2% illustrations, and 2% on-time delivery. So remember that this project is 10%, is worth in 10%. So this is the rubric for the second project. So now, guys, as you can see, this is just a written presentation. You don't have to make a recording. So in the slide 2, when you talk about the benefits and disadvantages of online education, they recommend using the comparative and superlative adjectives. However, you can use other vocabulary to talk about the benefits and disadvantages. Okay, I'm going to show it to you in a minute. I'm going to show the vocabulary to talk about the the advantages and disadvantages. You can also use other vocabulary. Well, apart from the comparative and superlatives, you can use other vocabulary, okay? I'm going to show it to you. Wait a minute. I'm just looking for it, okay? Wait. Okay, so I'm going to show you that vocabulary that you can use also. Apart from the comparative and superlatives, of course, you have to use, you can use this vocabulary I'm showing you. I'm going to make it bigger. So it says, academic word list, advantages and disadvantages, phrase practice. Okay, advantages and disadvantages, phrases presentation. So you can say the advantage, the first advantage, the main advantage, okay? Here you can say the main advantage, the main disadvantage, a or an advantage of the quarantine, or a or an disadvantage of the quarantine is. Or if you want to use plural, the disadvantages of the quarantine are, etc. Now it says, match the words under default to those four group categories. Most can go more than one in one place. So here we have more words. It says, comparatively minor, great, the greatest. So we can say, guys, here we can use this vocabulary, this great, greatest, insignificant, main, major, more important, most significant, only, overwhelming. What is the meaning of overwhelming? ¿Alguien sabe qué es overwhelm? What is the meaning of overwhelming, guys? Cuando algo te abruma, te aplasta, podemos decir, te cansa, algo que es contundente, que es abrumador, que es devastador, es overwhelming, ¿ok? Possible, potential, and significant. Bueno, si vemos aquí, todos estos son adjetivos, entonces eso los podemos utilizar para hablar de ventajas y desventajas. Vean, the advantage, bueno, aquí tenemos una línea porque podemos calificar la ventaja. Yo les puse the first advantage, the second advantage, the main advantage, pero también pueden utilizar the great advantage, the greatest advantage, the insignificant disadvantage, the main advantage, the major advantage, the more important disadvantage, the most significant disadvantage of the quarantine, the only disadvantage I can see, or the only advantage I can see in this quarantine of COVID-19, or the overwhelming disadvantage, the possible advantages, the potential disadvantage, okay, the significant advantage. Vean, ¿cuántos adjetivos hay para comparar? Bueno, para hablar de ventajas y desventajas, ¿ok? Bueno, ¿qué otras expresiones podemos utilizar para ventajas y qué otras expresiones podemos utilizar para desventajas? Aquí tenemos algunas. Dice argument against, argument for, argument in support, a bad consequence, bad point, a benefit, cons, drawback, good effect, good point, minus, negative aspect, plus, positive aspect, pro, selling point. Bueno, vamos a ver cómo se utilizan estas expresiones. Podemos decir, an argument against COVID is that many people cannot go to work and the economy is going down drastically, okay? So that is an argument against the confinement of due to COVID, right? So that is an argument against. An argument for the quarantine, for the confinement due to the COVID-19 is that many people can stay at home with their families, okay? And they can interact more and and spend more time with them. So that is an argument for. An argument in support COVID-19 is that many people stay with their families at home and they can socialize more and they can work from home, okay? They don't have to go out and they don't spend too much on transportation. So they don't spend on transportation. That is an argument in support the confinement due to the COVID-19. Bad consequence, okay? The bad consequence of the confinement due to COVID-19 is that the economy is going down, has dropped drastically, right? So many people cannot work, many people have lost their job temporarily because of the confinement. A bad point about the confinement due to COVID-19 is that many people have lost their jobs, all right? So that can be a bad point. A benefit is that many people have saved up a lot of money on transportation. Many people have saved up a lot of money because they don't have to go out to go to work or school, okay? So that can be a benefit. Cons, what is the meaning of cons? The cons, los contras, ¿no? You can say, for example, let me check another example. Let's see. The cons is like the opposite of pros. So we can have pros and cons. Pros and cons. So we can say one, the cons most of time is in plural. The cons of COVID-19 are. So you can list the cons and the pros of COVID-19 are, so you also can use that. The drawback is a synonym of the bad points, the disadvantages. What are the drawbacks of COVID-19? The drawbacks is that the economy is falling drastically, okay? That is one drawback. People have lost their jobs, so that is another drawback. The main drawback, you can also use the main drawback, the greatest drawback, etc. Now, good effects. The good effects of COVID-19 is that people don't spend too much on transportation to go to work or to go to school. All the good points is the same. You can also say good points. What can be the minus? The minus are like the bad points, okay? The minus are the bad points. For example, guys, how can we say, or how can we use this word? So let's check. We can say it. The three also is a plural word. The three minus or main minus of COVID-19, the three main minus of COVID-19 are, right? And you can list all the bad points because the minus are the bad points. The negative aspects is another word. The plus is the good points, okay? The benefits, we can say the plus. The plus of COVID-19 is that many people stay at home, they enjoy their free time with their family. The positive aspects, the pros, and we have what are the selling points? What are the selling points? Okay, let me tell you an example with the selling points. Okay, a selling point can be used as what can I say? The key aspects, the key most important aspects. Yes, the key. The selling points can be the main characteristics. The main characteristics. For example, the selling point of COVID-19 is that you have to be at home. You have to be at home, and in order not to get ill, okay? That is the selling point of COVID-19, is the main characteristic. And also, here you have some other expressions that you can use, okay? When you are talking about conclusion, when you are talking about advantages and disadvantages, or making a contrast, etc. For example, when you are talking about contrast, when you are making differences, talking about differences, you use but. But, remember, but when you are making a contrast. Then, despite all of this, so despite of the COVID-19, many people continue working at home, right? So having looked at both sides of the argument. I conclude. This is an expression that we use to conclude, okay? Having looked at both sides of the argument. However, es lo mismo que but, lo utilizamos para contrastar. Looking at, lo utilizamos para, esa frase lo utilizamos para ver un punto específico. Looking at this consequence. Nevertheless, es lo mismo que but y however, son sinónimos. Other hand es cuando quieres empezar con otro párrafo, por ejemplo, con una nueva idea. Puedes decir, por otro lado, ahora puedes tener the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. ¿Esto qué quiere decir? Que las ventajas sobrepasan las desventajas. ¿Sí? Outweigh the disadvantages. O there are more pros than cons. Hay más ventajas que desventajas. O también we also have to take into account that. También tenemos que tomar en cuenta que, esta es otra expresión, we also have to take into account that. Also lo utilizamos cuando estamos enlistando cosas. Que significa también, even though that is true, a pesar de que es verdad, bla, bla, bla. Luego, furthermore, además de, o además, furthermore, people have to work at home, okay? When you are talking about the characteristics of the COVID-19, puedes utilizar also, and furthermore, in addition, people have to stay at home because as a safety measure, okay? Moving on to, para hablar de, moving on to the disadvantages of COVID-19, I can say the following, okay? Moving on to the disadvantage of COVID-19, I can say the following. Nonetheless, es lo mismo que nevertheless. Nonetheless puede ser utilizado como, déjenme ver, un ejemplo. Les puedo decir un ejemplo de nonetheless. Puede ser sin embargo. Nonetheless, people continue with their normal activities at home, okay? On the other side of the coin, en el otro lado de la moneda, overall es tomando todo en consideración, resumiendo, what is more, además, what is more quiere decir, we can balance against this, podemos hacer un balance de esto. Y bueno, aquí, hasta aquí tenemos las expresiones, el vocabulario que pueden utilizar en la diapositiva 2, ¿ok? Pueden utilizar ese vocabulario en la diapositiva, sí me parece que es la 2, déjenme ver. Sí, donde están comparando y contrastando. Bueno, luego obviamente tienen que utilizar los superlativos y comparativos, pero también pueden utilizar ese vocabulario, no está mal. Pueden utilizar cualquiera de esas estructuras. Aparte no tienen que escribir mucho. Recuerden que son 40, 50 palabras por diapositiva. Entonces, bueno, pues como ustedes ven, hay más vocabulario para la 2, la diapositiva 2. Y bueno, también hay vocabulario para hablar de consecuencias, de causas y consecuencias. Ahorita se los voy a mostrar también. Cómo hablar de causas y consecuencias. About effects. También puede ser effects en lugar de consecuencias. Voy a mostrar en un momento. Vamos a ver. Vean, en un momento se los comparto. Aquí está. Aquí, chicos, les estoy compartiendo una página en donde viene Causes and Effects in English. Recuerden que ahí tienen que utilizar el primer condicional para hablar de las causas y para hablar de los efectos, pero también pueden utilizar estas expresiones que les voy a mostrar. Vean, aquí tenemos causes and effects vocabulary. We can talk about a situation that makes another situation happen. We can use cause and effect. In English, we can use certain expressions such as because, due to, since, and as to talk about causes and effects. Let's see examples. Like cause. Cause es un sustantivo. Como pueden darse cuenta, refers to a person or thing that makes something happen. We can say the cause of the accident was a flat tire. The cause of the accident was a flat tire. La causa del accidente fue una llanta ponchada, como pueden ver. Luego tenemos verb, an action that makes something happen. The flat tire caused the car to wreck. The flat tire caused, aquí estamos utilizando cause como verbo en pasado. También lo pueden decir de la misma manera. Ahora, effects. Effect es un sustantivo. The snowstorm had an effect on his mood. Entonces, aquí tenemos que la tormenta de nieve tuvo un efecto en su comportamiento. Y tú también puedes utilizar effect para cuando hables de las consecuencias del COVID. Por ejemplo, the COVID-19 o the confinement due to the COVID-19 had an effect on the people's thinking. Por ejemplo. Ahora tenemos affect. Is used as a verb. Is used as a verb. Is usually spelled with an A, okay? To produce an effect, to cause a change in something. The snowstorm affected his mood. Entonces, the COVID-19 affected the way people think. Ahora tenemos otros. Talking about causes and effects in English. Aquí tenemos otras expresiones que pueden usar. Bueno, aquí solamente me sobra un minuto, pero si me saca, volvemos a entrar, ¿ok? Volvemos a entrar para terminar, concluir con esto. Bueno, aquí tenemos algunos vocabulario para algunas expresiones para hablar de causas y efectos. Déjenme ver esto. Ya. Estaba viendo a los participantes. Vean, due to, debido a, due to COVID-19, because of COVID-19, owing to COVID-19, thanks to es algo más